If you try to influence others through force, loud words, displays of status, or relentless pressure, you often end up drained, resisted, or quietly resented. You push, and the world pushes back. You speak louder to be heard, only to meet silence or opposition. You leverage authority, yet loyalty feels fragile and fleeting. A single disagreement, a shift in mood, a subtle withdrawal from someone you need on your side, and suddenly your plans unravel. Your energy scatters. Your efforts feel heavy. That is how influence slips away for most people. Most believe influence means controlling the room, winning every exchange, or bending others to their will. But real influence is quieter than that. Real influence flows from within. It is the art of silent power achieved through mental transmutation, the inner alchemy of transforming your own thoughts, emotions, and energy so completely that the outer world begins to shift in resonance, without force, without exhaustion, without the need to constantly perform. Being silently influential does not mean you stop caring about outcomes. It does not mean you become passive or detached from people. It means your inner state is no longer at the mercy of external resistance. That is true power, because the world will not stop challenging your ideas, testing your vision, or presenting obstacles. People will doubt you. Situations will tighten. Plans will meet friction. The question is not whether you will face resistance. The question is, will you shape the moment from stillness or lose yourself in the struggle? In this audiobook, we are not going to teach you clever tactics to manipulate minds. We are not going to promise effortless control or shortcuts that bypass real growth. Instead, we are going to train something far more valuable. We are going to train mental transmutation. Over the next chapters, you will learn how to alchemize reactive thoughts into calm clarity, how to turn emotional turbulence into steady presence, how to protect your energy while subtly guiding the currents around you, how to read the unseen, those invisible moods, intentions, and undercurrents in people and environments, and how to become the still point that naturally draws alignment, even when the room feels scattered or divided. This is not about manipulation. It is mastery of self that naturally radiates outward. Loud influence exhausts both the giver and the receiver. It creates temporary compliance at best. Quiet influence, born from transmuted inner states, creates lasting resonance. It moves hearts and minds not by pressure, but by the magnetic pull of your own transformed being. When your thoughts are ordered, your emotions are regulated, and your energy is concentrated, others begin to feel it. They adjust, they lean in, they align, not because you force them, but because something deeper in them recognizes stability, depth, and quiet authority. Most people live in reactive influence. They chase agreement. They defend positions. They over-explain. Their impact rises and falls with every mood, every opinion, every external validation. Their power is borrowed from circumstances, and so it remains fragile. When you master silent influence through mental transmutation, something shifts. You stop forcing conversations. You stop chasing buy-in. You stop expending energy on resistance. Instead, you create inner shifts that ripple outward. You respond with precision instead of pressure. You observe patterns instead of battling symptoms. That is when true influence grows. When you are no longer flooded by the need to control others, you can actually see them. You can actually guide without grasping. You can act with intention instead of desperation. Silent influence is not about winning every visible battle. It is about shaping the invisible field. It is about realizing that not every mind needs forceful conversion. Not every situation demands your voice. Not every resistance deserves your reaction. Some moments call for presence. Some people respond to your stillness. Some outcomes unfold when you simply hold the higher frequency. You will still feel ambition. You will still feel the desire to move things forward. You will still encounter opposition. You are human, but you will no longer let those forces dictate your inner state or scatter your power. That is the difference between surface influence and profound impact, between temporary sway and enduring magnetism, between exhaustion and effortless authority. Throughout this journey, each chapter will challenge a common habit that weakens your influence. We will examine the urge to dominate conversations, the attachment to visible results, the discomfort of unseen work, the fear of losing momentum, and the illusion that louder is stronger. One by one, we will transmute them, not through hype, but through awareness, disciplined inner practice, and repeated small shifts. Because silent influence is not a personality trait. It is a trained capacity, and when you cultivate it long enough, something powerful happens. You walk into a room, and your presence alone begins to organize the energy. You face opposition, and your calm redirects the flow. You encounter uncertainty, and your steadiness becomes the anchor others unconsciously seek. That quiet power becomes your edge. In noisy environments, the centered person guides. In moments of tension, the transmuted mind leads without raising its voice. That can be you, but only if you decide that your inner world is the true source of influence. Only if you commit to the daily alchemy of thought, emotion, and energy. Only if you choose mastery over performance. This is your training, not to dominate others, not to hide your intentions, but to become so aligned within that your influence flows naturally, powerfully, and silently. So take a slow breath, settle your thoughts, release the tension in your shoulders, and prepare to learn the art of silent influence through mental transmutation. Let us begin. Chapter 1. Understanding mental transmutation. You sit across from someone important, a colleague, a partner, a decision maker. You need them to see your vision. The words pour out faster. Your tone sharpens. You push harder with logic, with passion, with evidence. Yet, the more you argue, the more resistance you meet. Their arms cross. Their eyes drift. The air grows heavy. What began as possibility ends in stalemate or polite withdrawal. You leave drained, frustrated, wondering why your effort only seemed to strengthen their walls. Most people believe influence comes from forceful persuasion. Speak louder. Present better arguments. Apply more pressure. Win the moment at all costs. But real influence is quieter, deeper, and far more powerful. It begins not with changing others, but with the hidden alchemy of mental transmutation, the ancient art of transforming your own thoughts, emotions, and inner energy so completely that the external world begins to shift in response, often without a single word of overt persuasion. Mental transmutation is not magic or manipulation. It is the deliberate inner process of turning base mental states, such as scattered thoughts, reactive emotions, scattered energy, into something refined, such as calm clarity, steady presence, concentrated intention. Like the old alchemists who sought to turn lead into gold, you learn to turn inner chaos into quiet power. The lead is your frustration, your urgency, your need to control. The gold is the natural alignment that emerges when your inner state becomes magnetic rather than combative. Most remain powerless because they fight the world, while their own mind remains in turmoil. They argue with circumstances. They wrestle with opinions. They chase outcomes with a restless, noisy inner world. And the more they push externally, the more life resists. Their energy scatters like leaves in the wind. Their presence feels heavy rather than compelling. They exhaust themselves trying to move others while remaining unmoved within. Imagine two people facing the same difficult meeting. The first arrives agitated, mentally rehearsing arguments, determined to force agreement. Tension radiates from him. Every objection feels like a personal attack. He pushes harder, growing sharper, more insistent. The room tightens. People withdraw. The meeting ends with superficial nods and no real commitment. The second person enters the same room, but has already practiced transmutation. Before walking in, he observed his rising urgency and quietly transmuted it. By shifting anxious thoughts into clear intention, emotional pressure into grounded calm. He speaks less, listens more deeply. His presence feels steady, spacious, unhurried. Instead of battling resistance, he holds a quiet center. Questions arise naturally. Objections soften. By the end, alignment forms, not through dominance, but through resonance. This is the deeper truth. True influence does not begin with technique. It begins within. When your mind is chaotic, your influence remains shallow and short-lived. When your mind is transmuted, ordered, refined, anchored, your very being begins to shape the field around you. People feel it. They adjust. They open. Not because you forced them, but because something in their own deeper nature recognizes stability and truth. Here is a simple starting exercise. Right now, pause. Close your eyes for a moment if you can. Observe your current mental state without judgment. Notice the thoughts moving through you. Are they scattered or focused? Is there urgency, doubt, excitement, or quiet determination? Simply watch. Do not try to change anything yet. Just witness. Thinking is happening. Tension is present. Calm is here. This small act of observation is the first step of transmutation. It creates the subtle space where alchemy becomes possible. Practice this several times today. With each observation, you weaken the grip of unconscious reactivity and strengthen your ability to choose your inner condition. Why does this matter so profoundly? Because most of what you attempt to influence flows through the invisible currents of emotion, attention, and subtle energy. When your own currents are turbulent, you only add to the storm. When they are clear and steady, you become the quiet influence that naturally organizes chaos. You stop leaking power in every exchange. You begin conserving it, directing it, allowing it to work silently on your behalf. You will still encounter resistance. You will still face disagreement and difficult personalities. But now you understand something essential. The real work is not forcing the outer world into shape. The real work is transmuting the inner one. Do this consistently, and you will discover that silent influence is not about hiding your intentions or playing games. It is about becoming so aligned, so centered, so refined within, that your presence itself begins to guide outcomes. This understanding is only the beginning. In the chapters ahead, you will learn to apply this transmutation in the heat of real situations, turning pressure into presence, turning conflict into quiet alignment, turning scattered effort into magnetic clarity. But it all rests on this foundation. True influence begins not with what you do to others, but with what you become within yourself. Chapter 2. Cultivating the Silent Core. You walk into a room where voices overlap, opinions clash, deadlines press close. Notifications pull at your attention. Someone leans in with urgency, their words sharp with expectation. In that moment, for most people, the center gives way. Thoughts scatter like leaves in wind. Focus fragments. The mind races to respond, to fix, to defend, to be seen. And just like that, influence slips away, not with a shout, but with a quiet erosion of presence. External noise does this so easily. A tense negotiation, a family conversation thick with unspoken resentment, a meeting where ideas compete and egos circle. Pressure mounts, and suddenly you are no longer leading the moment. You are reacting inside it. Your words come faster than your wisdom. Your posture tightens. Your attention splits between what is happening and what it might mean about you. This is how power leaks. Not because the situation is too strong, but because the inner core has not yet been cultivated. Yet, there exists another way. Imagine a different presence entering the same room. This person does not rush to fill the silence. He does not match the rising volume or chase every point. His body is relaxed, but alert. His gaze is steady. He listens, not just to words, but to what moves beneath them. And without speaking much, something shifts. Others begin to lean in. Tension softens. Decisions clarify. Why? Because a calm, centered inner presence is a silent force. It is felt before it is heard. It creates a field of stability that others unconsciously gravitate toward. Most minds are scattered, pulled outward by every stimulus, every expectation, every fear of missing out or being misunderstood. A scattered mind reacts from the surface. It chases approval, dodges discomfort, and loses itself in the current of whatever is happening. But a transmuted, steady core is different. It has been forged through awareness. It holds space. It observes without being consumed. Where others see chaos, you see patterns. Where others feel urgency, you feel the deeper rhythm beneath it. Consider the seasoned negotiator who sits quietly while the other side grows agitated. He does not mirror the frustration. He does not fill every pause with justification. Instead, he remains anchored. His calm does not come from indifference. It comes from depth. And that depth disarms. Opponents reveal more than they intend. Allies feel safe enough to speak truth. The room itself begins to organize around his presence. Or picture a parent in the middle of a heated family argument. Voices rise. Old wounds surface. The scattered response is to fight fire with fire, to prove a point, to win the exchange. But the one with the silent core breathes, observes the storm of emotion without becoming it, and speaks only when the moment calls for truth rather than reaction. Their words land heavier. Their stillness models a different possibility. Influence flows not from dominance, but from centeredness. Why do we lose this presence so often? Psychologically, the mind is wired for survival. It treats social threats, such as disapproval, conflict, uncertainty, the same way it treats physical danger. Attention narrows. The nervous system floods with urgency. In that state, you abandon the core and move to the surface where everything feels personal and immediate. But this is a choice disguised as instinct. You can retrain it. Here is a practical daily exercise to begin cultivating your silent core. Each morning, before the world rushes in, sit for 10 minutes in a quiet space. Place one hand on your abdomen. Breathe slowly, deeper than feels natural at first. As thoughts arise about the day ahead, as anxieties whisper, do not push them away. Observe them. Then gently return to the breath. Feel the weight of your body in the chair. Feel your feet on the ground. Silently affirm, I am here. I am not my thoughts. I am the space that holds them. Throughout the day, use a simple anchor. When pressure builds, before replying to a difficult message, before entering a charged conversation, before the mind begins to spiral, pause. Place attention on the breath for 3 full cycles. Feel the subtle expansion and release in your chest. Ask yourself, what is actually needed here beyond my reaction? This is not suppression. It is transmutation. Anxiety becomes grounded power. Scattered energy gathers into clarity. With repetition, this anchoring becomes automatic. The silent core strengthens. The more you practice, the more you shift from reaction to observation. You watch emotions rise like clouds across the sky, real, yet passing. You notice the pull of ego without obeying it. You hear the noise without becoming it. And in that space, something remarkable begins to happen. Your presence alone starts to influence others, without a single forceful word. People sense the difference. They feel steadier around you. Conflicts de-escalate faster. Ideas flow more freely. Respect arises naturally, not from charisma or volume, but from the quiet authority of someone who is not easily moved. In a world of scattered attention and reactive minds, the person with a cultivated silent core stands as a center of gravity. Others adjust to your calm. They borrow from your clarity. They trust your steadiness even when they cannot name why. This is not about becoming untouchable. It is about becoming unshakable in what truly matters. You already carry the seed of this core within you. The noise of life has simply covered it. Through awareness, through practice, through the patient choice to return again and again to presence, that seed grows. You become less a leaf blown by every wind, and more the tree whose roots run deep. Chapter 3. From chaos to directed energy. Your thoughts never sit still. One difficult conversation ends, yet it continues playing in your mind. A minor setback appears, and suddenly your inner world fills with what-ifs, replayed scenarios, and quiet predictions of failure. You scroll through the day half present, energy leaking through endless mental loops. And without realizing it, these unchecked thoughts shape your reality. They drain your vitality before the external world even touches you. They weaken your focus. They color your words, your posture, your presence. Most people accept this chaos as normal. They believe thinking is automatic. Just whatever arises must be true or useful. But there is a deeper truth. Your mind is not a passive observer. It is an alchemist. Every thought carries energy. Left untamed, that energy disperses into worry, resentment, doubt, and distraction. Directed with intention, the same energy becomes clarity, strength, and quiet certainty. This is mental transmutation, the conscious art of changing scattered or heavy thoughts into focused, high-vibration ones. Not by denying what you feel, but by refining it. Imagine your mind as a powerful river. Unchecked, it floods in every direction, eroding banks, wasting force, leaving only muddied water. But when channeled, that same river turns turbines, lights cities, nourishes fields. The water has not disappeared. It has been redirected. So it is with your thoughts. Consider 2 people facing the same disappointment. The first ruminates for days. Why does this always happen to me? What if I'm not good enough? They probably think I'm incompetent. Each repetition strengthens the emotional charge. Tension builds in the body. Decisions grow hesitant. The entire day bends toward that heavy inner narrative. The second person feels the sting too, but pauses. He acknowledges the pain without feeding it. Then he asks, "What can I extract from this? Where is my attention most useful now?" The same event, two vastly different inner realities. One leaks power, the other directs it. This is not positive thinking or forced optimism. It is alchemy. You take the raw material of doubt, frustration, or fear and transform it through awareness and choice. The lead of negativity does not vanish. It becomes the gold of grounded wisdom. Here is a concrete practice you can begin today. Call it the transmutation pause. The moment you notice rumination or a heavy thought spiral beginning, stop. Take one slow, deliberate breath. Name the thought plainly, such as, "This is doubt speaking." Then ask yourself three gentle questions. What is the truth beneath this feeling? What small action or perspective serves my highest good right now? What would I think if I were already rooted in quiet certainty? Speak or write the redirected thought with calm authority. For example, doubt becomes, "I have faced uncertainty before and moved forward with integrity. I trust my next step will reveal itself." Do not rush. Let the new thought settle in your body. Feel the subtle shift in energy from tightness to steadiness. Repeat this whenever the mind wanders into chaos. At first, it may feel effortful. With practice, it becomes natural. You are training the mind to become a conscious alchemist rather than a victim of its own currents. The ripple effect of this practice reaches further than you might imagine. When your inner energy is directed, others feel it. You walk into a room less burdened, more present. Conversations deepen because you are no longer half listening while your mind rehearses old stories. People sense your clarity. They become calmer in your presence. Conflicts lose their fuel because you do not add scattered energy to them. Your quiet certainty becomes a subtle invitation for others to rise toward their own. At its core, this is philosophical truth made practical. You are not your thoughts. You are the awareness that can shape them. The surface view says your mind is at the mercy of circumstances. The deeper truth reveals that your directed mind begins to shape circumstances. Energy follows attention. Attention, when mastered, becomes power. You will still have chaotic thoughts. Life will still stir the waters. But now you know the difference between being swept away and standing as the one who guides the flow. Each time you transmute a scattered thought into focused energy, you reclaim a piece of yourself. You grow lighter. Decisions come more easily. Presence deepens. Influence expands, not through force, but through the natural authority of a mind that is no longer at war with itself. Cultivate this directed energy, and something profound begins to stabilize within you. You stop feeding what weakens you. You begin nourishing what strengthens you. And from this place of inner alignment, you are ready to engage life more fully without losing yourself in it. Chapter 4. Reading the Unspoken. You sit across from someone in conversation. Words are exchanged, yet something feels off. Their smile arrives a moment too late. Their eyes drift. The tone carries an undercurrent you cannot quite name. Most people miss it entirely. They hear only the surface, respond to the obvious, and later wonder why the interaction soured or why their influence fell flat. Plans misalign. Trust erodes quietly. Opportunities slip away, all because the deeper signals went unseen. This is where influence often fails, not from lack of intelligence or effort, but from shallow perception. You speak, but you do not truly see. You listen, but you do not truly read. Yet, when your mind has been transmuted from chaos to directed energy, your perception sharpens. You begin to sense what lies beneath the words, the quiet tension in a tightened jaw, the subtle hesitation before an answer, the shift in energy when a topic touches an insecurity. You read emotions, intentions, and unspoken truths without needing them spelled out. This is the power of subtle perception. Surface listening stays on the shore, catching facts, opinions, and obvious meanings. Deep, silent reading moves like a current beneath the water. It notices the temperature, the hidden pull, the life moving in the depths. One person hears, "I'm fine," and relaxes. Another feels the slight strain in the voice, the guarded posture, and understands that something remains unresolved. The difference is not magic. It is cultivated awareness. Picture a team meeting where ideas are presented. On the surface, everyone nods politely. But beneath, one colleague's crossed arms and fleeting micro-expression reveal quiet resistance. Another's quickened breathing signals rising anxiety about the timeline. The person with scattered attention pushes forward, oblivious, and watches the project stall later. The one with subtle perception notices these cues. He adjusts his tone, asks a gentle question that invites the real concern into the light, and guides the group toward alignment, often without drawing attention to the unspoken. Or consider a delicate conversation with a loved one. Words say one thing, but the energy speaks another. Subtle perception allows you to honor both. You do not rush to fix or debate. You see the fear behind the anger, the care behind the silence. And from that seeing, your response carries greater wisdom. Mental transmutation makes this possible. When your own thoughts are no longer scattered, your mind becomes a clear instrument. Directed energy heightens sensitivity. You are no longer flooded by your own inner noise, so the signals from others become audible. What once felt like vague intuition now registers as readable information. Here is a practical way to train this skill. Begin with what I call quiet observation practice. Each day, choose one conversation, casual or important. For the first few minutes, speak less. Instead of preparing your next response, rest your attention gently on the other person. Listen to their words, yes, but also notice the rhythm of their breathing, the subtle shifts in posture or gaze, the energy behind their tone, light or heavy, open or closed. Do not stare. Do not analyze aggressively. Simply witness with relaxed, friendly curiosity. Afterward, in a quiet moment, reflect. What did I sense beneath the words? Write one or two observations without judgment. Over time, this gentle training refines your perception. It becomes natural, almost effortless. You read the room not by effort, but by presence. As this ability deepens, you discover that accurate perception allows you to guide outcomes in silence. You do not need to dominate conversations or force solutions. By seeing clearly, you respond at the right moment, with the right measure. You sense when to speak and when to hold space. You notice openings others miss. Tension dissolves before it escalates. Opportunities reveal themselves. Your influence flows not from volume or cleverness, but from alignment with what is actually happening. This is the quiet art of leadership. Others may never know how you saw so much. They simply feel understood. They feel steadier in your presence. They sense a direction emerging naturally, even when few words were spoken. You are not becoming calculating. You are becoming attuned, more human, not less. The surface view mistakes perception for suspicion or cold analysis. The deeper truth is that clear seeing, born from inner stillness, breeds compassion and effectiveness. When you truly see someone, you can meet them where they are. With each chapter, your silent core grows stronger. Your energy becomes more directed. And now your perception pierces the superficial. These threads weave together into something unbreakable, a presence that influences without force, that understands without intrusion, that leads without needing to declare itself. Chapter 5. Projecting influence without a word. You know the exhaustion, the constant need to explain yourself, to push your point, to fill every silence with words so others will listen. Meetings drag on as voices compete. Conversations circle without resolution. You leave feeling drained, wondering why your message didn't land. Force feels necessary. Effort seems required. Yet, the more you push, the more resistance you often meet. But there is another way. When your inner world has been transmuted, thoughts refined from chaos to directed energy, perception sharpened, presence anchored in a silent core, something radiates from you. Not loud, not forceful, but undeniably felt. A quiet field of clarity and steadiness that others sense before you speak a single word. This is the radiance of transmuted energy. It sways outcomes naturally. It draws respect without demanding it. It guides situations without needing to control them. Most people believe influence requires volume, clever arguments, or constant action. The surface view says power belongs to the loudest, the fastest, the most insistent. But the deeper truth reveals something quieter and far more enduring. A transmuted inner state creates a palpable presence. Like a deep river moving beneath a still surface, it carries strength that others unconsciously align with. You do not chase agreement. You become a center of gravity around which things begin to organize. Imagine a leader walking into a tense room. Voices are raised. Positions are locked. The air feels heavy with conflict. The forceful person jumps in, matches the intensity, tries to dominate the discussion. Often, the tension only thickens. Now picture the one whose energy has been transmuted. He enters calmly. His posture is relaxed, yet grounded. His gaze is clear and unhurried. He says very little at first, yet the room begins to shift. People speak more honestly. Defenses soften. Solutions emerge more easily. His presence alone invites order, not through words, but through the steady radiance he carries. Or consider a moment of quiet conflict with someone close. Instead of defending or explaining at length, you simply hold your centered state. Your calm does not dismiss their feelings. It creates space for truth to surface. They feel seen, not because you've forced understanding, but because your transmuted energy offers a safe harbor. As a result, influence flows and resolution arises naturally. This is not passivity. That is a common misconception. Passivity withdraws. It avoids. Radiant presence engages fully while remaining sovereign. It does not shrink from difficulty. It meets it from a place of inner fullness. Force exhausts both you and others. Magnetic influence renews. Force creates opposition. Radiance invites alignment. Here is a practical way to cultivate and hold this energetic presence. Begin with the daily radiance anchor. Each morning, after your quiet observation or breath practice, stand or sit tall for a few minutes. Bring attention to your body. Feel your feet connected to the ground. Breathe deeply and slowly. As you inhale, imagine gathering all your scattered energy, thoughts, emotions, attention into a warm, steady light at the center of your chest. As you exhale, let that light expand gently outward, filling the space around you. Silently affirm, I am centered. My presence is clear and steady. Throughout the day, whenever you enter a new situation, a meeting, a conversation, even a crowded space, pause for one conscious breath and reconnect with that inner radiance. Do not try to project or perform. Simply rest in your transmuted state and observe. Notice how others respond. Notice how your words, when they do come, carry more weight. Notice how silence itself becomes powerful. Practice holding this field even in small challenges, such as a difficult email or a moment of disagreement. Let your energy speak first. With repetition, this radiance becomes your natural way of being. You stop leaking power through over-explaining or forcing points. You conserve energy and multiply influence. People begin to seek your counsel not because you chase them, but because they feel steadier near you. Conflicts de-escalate in your presence. Decisions clarify. Trust deepens, all without grand gestures. This contrast runs through every layer of life. The forceful path tires the body and fragments the mind. The magnetic path, born of inner transmutation, strengthens you, while gently shaping the world around you. It is the difference between a flickering flame easily blown out and a steady light that others navigate by. You are not diminishing yourself to influence others. You are becoming so integrated, so aligned, that your very being becomes part of the solution. This is the quiet authority available to anyone willing to do the inner work. As this radiance grows within you, you will discover even greater freedom. The freedom that comes not from managing every outcome or perception, but from trusting the steady influence of a fully integrated self. Your silent power deepens, your presence expands, and life's tests meet a version of you that is no longer moved by them, but moves through them with grace and strength. Chapter 6. Turning opposition into alignment. You feel it in the moment. Someone opposes your idea. Tension rises. Voices sharpen. The more you push, the more they push back. Arguments loop. Defenses harden. What began as a simple difference becomes a wall. Most people meet resistance with resistance. They argue harder, explain longer, insist louder, and the divide only grows. Energy scatters, connection fractures, influence dissolves in the very effort to claim it. This is the surface pattern, force against force. But there is a deeper alchemy available to you. True mastery lies in transmuting resistance, that is, turning opposition into alignment, not by overpowering the other person, but by first shifting your own inner state. When your energy is centered, directed, and radiant, resistance in others often softens naturally. You do not absorb their friction. You do not amplify it. You become the steady presence that invites a different response. Imagine two people in disagreement at work. The first reacts from tension. They counter every point, defend every detail. The atmosphere grows heavier. Positions lock. The second person, grounded in his silent core, feels the resistance arise, but does not meet it with equal force. He pauses. He breathes. He holds his own transmuted energy steady. Instead of pushing, he listens more deeply. He acknowledges the concern beneath the words. I see why this feels risky for you. A small opening appears. The other person, no longer fighting for air, begins to relax. Ideas start to flow. What felt like opposition transforms into collaboration. The same principle appears in personal relationships. A partner criticizes sharply, carrying the weight of their own unspoken stress. The instinctive move is to defend or withdraw. But when you have trained your responses, you choose differently. You do not fuse with their emotion. You remain anchored. Your calm does not dismiss their feelings. Rather, it creates space for them to be felt without escalation. By doing so, resistance loses its fuel and alignment becomes possible again. Why does this work? Because resistance thrives on mutual reactivity. When one person stops feeding the cycle, the entire dynamic shifts. Your transmuted state becomes a subtle mirror and a gentle guide. Others feel it even if they cannot name it. Their nervous system registers safety. Their defenses soften. Solutions emerge from a different ground. Here is a practical way to begin this alchemy. Next time you encounter resistance, whether in conversation, negotiation, or conflict, use what I call the inner shift technique. First, pause and return to your breath. Feel your feet on the ground. Reconnect with your directed energy and quiet radiance. Then ask yourself silently, what is the deeper need or fear here? Instead of countering their position immediately, reflect a piece of it back with calm acknowledgement. Mirror their energy subtly, not to mimic drama, but to show you see them. Hold space without filling it. Speak only when clarity arises, and let your words carry steadiness rather than urgency. Practice this in small moments first. A minor disagreement with a friend, a differing opinion in a meeting. Notice what happens when you stop pushing and begin transmuting. The change may be quiet at first, but it is real. Resistance that once drained you now becomes information. Opposition that once triggered you now becomes an opportunity for deeper alignment. Patience and inner work are the true keys. You cannot force another person's transformation, but you can tend your own state so consistently that it naturally influences the field around you. This requires discipline. You will still feel the pull to react. You will still sense the old habit of matching intensity. Yet, each time you choose the inner shift instead, you strengthen the alchemical muscle. What felt impossible becomes your natural way. There is profound freedom in this mastery. You stop exhausting yourself in battles that change nothing. You no longer need others to yield for you to feel powerful. You move through conflict with a lighter step, knowing that your centered presence is often the most effective response. Relationships deepen. Leadership becomes more graceful. Influence flows where force once failed. You are not controlling others. You are no longer controlled by the dance of resistance. This is emotional maturity in its quietest, most powerful form, turning what divides into what unites, one transmuted moment at a time. Chapter 7. Guiding through presence and example. You have seen it many times. The loudest voice in the room commands attention for a moment, yet the real direction often emerges from someone else. Someone quieter, someone steadier. Traditional authority relies on titles, commands, and forceful words. It pushes people into alignment. But silent leadership works differently. It draws others forward through the quality of your being, not by demanding respect, but by naturally earning it. When your thoughts are directed, your perception is subtle, your energy is radiant, and your responses are refined, something profound happens. You lead not primarily through speech, but through presence and example. Others feel the difference. They adjust, they rise, they align, not because you force them, but because your centered state becomes a living invitation. Consider a team facing a difficult deadline. The traditional leader raises his voice, issues orders, highlights mistakes. Tension spikes. People comply out of pressure, but creativity fades and resentment builds. Now imagine the leader whose inner work is deep. He enters the room grounded. His calm does not deny the urgency, it holds it without being consumed by it. He listens more than he speaks. When he does speak, his words carry clarity and steadiness. He models focus. He demonstrates patience under pressure. Without demanding it, the team begins to mirror this energy. Solutions appear. People contribute more freely. The work gets done with greater cohesion and less exhaustion. The same pattern unfolds in a family. A parent who constantly lectures and corrects may get short-term obedience. But the parent who has cultivated her silent core, responding with consistency, holding boundaries with calm strength, living her values visibly, creates something deeper. Children absorb the example. They learn not from the words alone, but from the steady presence that carries them. Trust grows. Maturity takes root. This is the contrast. Traditional authority often needs to be maintained through effort and repetition. It can feel heavy, both for the leader and for those being led. Silent leadership, born of transmuted energy, feels lighter. It flows. It endures. It shapes culture and character over time because it touches something deeper than compliance. It touches inspiration. True influence is less about controlling behavior and more about revealing possibility. When you embody steadiness, others discover they can access their own. When you demonstrate emotional mastery, they begin to believe it is possible for them too. Your presence becomes a quiet teaching. Your example becomes a path others choose to walk. Here is a practical way to develop this silent leadership. Begin with the embodiment practice. Each day, choose one core value or quality you wish to strengthen: integrity, calm, clarity, compassion. Instead of speaking about it, focus on living it visibly in small moments. In conversations, pause fully before responding. In challenges, hold your energy steady without explanation. At the end of the day, reflect quietly. How did my presence affect the space today? Where did I model what I wish to see? Do not perform for others. Simply return again and again to your transmuted state. Let your actions, your tone, your silence, and your consistency do the guiding. Over weeks and months, notice the shift. People begin to seek your counsel, not because you offer answers, but because they feel clearer around you. Conflicts resolve more gently. Teams move with greater harmony. Your influence expands naturally, without force. This is philosophical truth made practical. The surface view says leaders must be charismatic, vocal, always directing. The deeper truth reveals that the most lasting leadership emerges from inner alignment. What you are speaks louder than what you say. When your inner world is ordered, the outer world begins to reflect that order. Not perfectly, not instantly, but meaningfully and over time. You do not need to chase followers or force outcomes. You simply become the kind of person whose presence invites growth. Long-term impact flows from this. Short-term wins may impress for a season, but steady, embodied leadership builds legacies. It shapes families, teams, communities, and even generations in ways that loud commands never could. As you cultivate this silent leadership, you step into a rare kind of power, a power no one can take from you, because it is not granted by position, it is forged within. You lead by being, you guide by example, and in doing so, you create ripples that extend far beyond the moment. Chapter 8. Protecting and refining your influence daily. Even the brightest fire can dim if left untended. You have done the inner work. You have cultivated the silent core, directed your energy, sharpened your perception, radiated quiet influence, transmuted resistance, and begun to lead through presence. Yet, without daily care, this hard-won steadiness can slowly erode. Life's small demands accumulate. Notifications pull. Conversations drain. Old habits whisper. And before you know it, the flame flickers. Influence that once felt natural now requires effort. Clarity clouds. Calm frays at the edges. This is the quiet truth most overlook. Mastery is not a destination you reach once. It is a flame you sustain. Daily drains are subtle, but relentless. A meaningless argument you choose to join. Hours lost in mental replay. Exposure to constant noise that scatters your focus. Without protection and refinement, even the strongest inner state begins to leak. The surface view treats these as minor inconveniences. The deeper truth reveals them as thieves of your power. What you allow in, what you give attention to, what you permit to disturb your center. These choices determine whether your flame burns bright or slowly fades. The unbothered life demands ongoing guardianship, not rigid control, but wise stewardship. You protect what you have built. You refine it through consistent practice. And in doing so, your influence does not merely endure, it compounds. Think of the leader who begins each day centered, only to lose his ground by afternoon through endless reactive emails and unnecessary debates. Contrast this with the one who guards his flame. He begins with presence. He moves through the day with selective engagement. He ends with reflection. His energy remains clear. His words carry weight. His mere presence continues to calm and guide others. The difference is not talent. It is daily discipline. Here is how you sustain and refine your own flame. Start with a simple morning ritual of transmutation and anchoring. Sit quietly for a few minutes. Breathe deeply. Review the qualities you are cultivating: calm, clarity, radiance. Feel them settle in your body. Set one clear intention for how you will protect your energy that day. This is not wishing. It is alignment. Throughout the day, practice selective engagement. Ask yourself before responding or diving in, does this deserve my energy? Will it serve my center or scatter it? Not every notification requires a reply. Not every opinion deserves your attention. Not every invitation to conflict is worth accepting. Boundaries become natural. You say less, yet your words matter more. You engage fully where it counts and step back where it does not. In moments of drain, when tension rises or old patterns pull, return to transmutation. Name the disturbance. Breathe. Redirect the energy consciously. Turn irritation into observation. Turn doubt into quiet certainty. These small daily refinements keep your inner state pure and powerful. Evening reflection seals the practice. Before sleep, review the day without judgment. Where did you hold your center? Where did you slip? What will you protect more fiercely tomorrow? This gentle accounting strengthens awareness and prevents small leaks from becoming large ones. These practices are not burdensome. They are liberating. They teach you that protecting your energy is not selfish. Rather, it is the foundation of everything meaningful you offer the world. The more consistently you tend your flame, the steadier it burns. The steadier it burns, the more naturally others are warmed and guided by it. Over time, something beautiful compounds. Small acts of protection become effortless presence. Daily refinement becomes enduring mastery. What once required conscious effort becomes who you are. You walk through life's tests not only unbothered, but as a quiet source of steadiness for everyone around you. Your influence deepens without striving. Your peace becomes unshakable because it is carefully guarded and continually renewed. Life will continue to test you. That will never change. But you have changed. You no longer meet tests as a reactive mind at the mercy of circumstance. You meet them as one who is centered, clear, and in command of their inner world. Carry this with you not as fleeting inspiration, but as lived discipline. Return to these practices daily. Protect your flame. Refine your energy. Embody the calm you have cultivated. And watch how steadily, how powerfully, how freely you move through this world. The real victory was never about controlling what happens around you. It was always about mastering what happens within you. That power is yours now. No one can take it. And in guarding it wisely, you become the calmest, steadiest, most influential version of yourself, unbothered, unshaken, and profoundly free. Conclusion: the quiet flame that endures. You have walked this path with intention. What began as scattered reactions and noisy striving has been refined, step by step, into something far more powerful. You no longer chase influence through force or volume. Through the patient alchemy of your own mind, you have learned to transmute chaos into clarity, resistance into alignment, and effort into natural radiance. The loud, exhausting way of moving through the world has given way to a silent, effortless authority. Your power no longer depends on controlling circumstances or convincing others. It flows from a steady, centered core that others feel before you speak a word. You now walk into rooms, and the atmosphere itself begins to settle. Conversations find their depth not because you dominate them, but because your presence invites truth. Challenges arise, yet you meet them with grounded perception and measured response. Opposition softens not through argument, but through the quiet strength you embody. You protect your energy like a seasoned guardian, refine your thoughts like an alchemist, and lead through the simple consistency of who you have become. Calm, magnetic, effective. This is the new way you move through life. No longer tossed by every wave. You have become the steady presence that others unconsciously seek. Life will keep testing you. It always does. Messages will go unanswered. Plans will crumble. Voices will rise. Yet, you now possess something unshakable, the trained ability to remain centered when everything around you moves. You feel fully, yet you are no longer controlled. You see clearly, yet you do not absorb. You influence deeply, yet you expend little force. This is the quiet revolution of inner mastery. To carry this forward, begin a simple 72-hour commitment, starting today. First, anchor your silent core each morning with a few minutes of breath and presence. Second, before any significant interaction or moment of tension, pause and ask, how can I meet this with directed energy rather than reaction? Third, at the close of each day, protect your flame through quiet reflection, release what does not serve, and reaffirm the steadiness you choose to embody. Observe what shifts. Notice how much lighter you feel. Notice how others begin to respond to the quiet authority growing within you. Small, consistent practices create profound identity shifts. What feels like discipline today becomes freedom tomorrow. You have done the inner work. The scattered mind has become directed. The reactive self has become steady. The seeker of external validation has become a source of silent influence. Internal mastery is the ultimate influence. No title can grant it. No one can take it away. It is the quiet flame that no wind can extinguish, the steady presence that shapes worlds without needing to shout. Carry this with you. Live it daily. Protect it wisely. You are no longer at the mercy of life's tests. You have become the calm, unshakable center through which they pass. And in that centered power lies a freedom and authority more profound than any external victory. This is your mastery. This is your influence. Quiet, deep, enduring. Walk forward unbothered, magnetic, and profoundly free. The real work is done. Now, simply live it.